Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Tommy Gilmore with Noiseaber Digital Marketing, and you are watching another episode of Wingin It. If this is your first time here, every week I talk with a different business owner, and this week I'm really excited. If you're a contractor or remodeler and you wanted to know how can I get in the good graces of real estate agents, how can I utilize them better, how can they help me with my business? We're going to answer all of that and more. We've got somebody with not only a great wealth of knowledge and experience in real estate, but also a construction background. So Micaela Carriel, we're going to be talking with her today. Micaela, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah. So just give a brief overview. How long have you been in real estate and a little bit about your background in construction?
So I have been in real estate for nearly 11 going on 12 years. I started my real estate realm or level of expertise in the commercial industry and transitioned over to residential once I moved my business from the Midwest to Utah about 6 years ago. Prior to that, I was the president of a couple construction companies out of the Midwest and helped a local custom home builder in the Wasatch Back start an insulation company. So I am one of the few people that probably know the difference between grandma grade foam and bat insulation.
That's awesome. So, I mean, again, we've got somebody that knows both sides of the business. I'm really excited to chat with you and to get some of your insights. And so we'll just go ahead and dive right in. I know a lot of, especially custom home builders, they're starting to get to that point where during COVID, it was easy, rates were 3 point whatever, for some people 2 point whatever, and they couldn't build a house fast enough, right? They weren't sitting on loans for very long. And now they're wondering, all right, how do I build a relationship with a real estate agent to get them to help market my development here, right? And so for you, what are some things that you would look for in a custom home builder partnership or a developer partnership that would make it a good fit for what you do?
So in a partnership between myself and builders, what I like is the transparency piece. I am sought after in my profession because of my level of knowledge on multiple fronts, as well as my relationships with my vendors or my subcontractors or my contractors. And being able to sit down and have candid conversations. I understand that construction workers have a different vernacular. And I promise that when you work with me, you love working with me because I'll do the paperwork. You don't have to do anything. And typically contractors of any sort, you don't like paperwork whatsoever. So it is a two-way road. I can bring something to the table as well. But being able to sit down and communicate and understanding that your level of build is going to reach my client's expectations. That I think is the biggest downfall of remodels and contractors is you promise A and sometimes you deliver D, and there's really no way to get to A.
Yeah. Well, and we were even talking about this a little bit before we started, where a lot of times the issue starts before they come to you because they're already putting in drywall or they're already in the finishing stages, and then they come to you and they're like, hey, I'd like you to market this property, and you go and you're like, well, the clients that I would bring you, they're looking for this and this, and that's not even an option anymore without an expensive change. So when is usually a good time to start that relationship with a real estate partner?
For the love of Pete, bring us in early. Do it at the two-dimensional stage. Before anything goes 3D, bring us in. If you're going to work with me, give me a call and say, hey, I have an idea. That's when you should call me in, is when you're thinking about an idea. Because even if you go to your architect and you come up with the spec home you want to build and you hand it to me, I'm going to be like, primary is not on the main. If you're going to sell this in the Wasatch Back, primary needs to be on the main. You will capture, and this is a made up data point, but probably 35% more people because of the age of our clientele, the activity level of our clientele, and the fact that we're so close to all of the ski resorts. April and May, it looks like the Walking Dead in Utah. And so people do think about that when they have to get their ACL repaired or their rotator cuff surgery that we see, people don't want stairs anymore. So bringing me at that two-dimensional level is going to drastically change your build and just make you more efficient with your time, energy, resources, and your finances.
Yeah, I mean, especially if the goal long term is to potentially have a real estate agent there, it makes sense to bring them in, like you said, before you've invested any money into the actual build, to say, hey, like, how marketable is this idea, right?
Yeah, and not only is it marketable, but wouldn't you love as a contractor to have someone purchase your home before you even framed it? Doesn't that take off a lot of pressure on multiple fronts? So if you bring us in, or you bring me in prior to drywall going in, I can do a lot in the 9 to 14 months it takes you to build your house. And I can handle the marketing, and I can take a lot off of your plate, allowing you to do what you want to do, and that's to build.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's probably just something that a lot of contractors haven't thought about, and possibly just due to the inexperience, or, I think so often we're most of us business owners, we're head down in the business, and sometimes we don't think of it from that 30,000 foot view. So I appreciate what you're saying, because it feels like a, oh, duh moment, but it kind of should, because it's like, hey, we're heads down, we're so busy, we're just go, go, go. And then when the finishes are going in, we're like, oh, we should have somebody that wants to buy this.
Right. And obviously contractors have their architect that they like to use. They have the person at the city that they pull their permits from every single time. So you can call Susie. You have a designer, but all of those people work in a vacuum. So they are just on their own. What the real estate agent or advisor does is they bring all of those different portions of building under one umbrella. So I can tell you, hey, the designer is doing A, but your tile guy is doing B, and it's costing you an extra $200. And yes, $200 up front on our average price point in Utah isn't a lot, but when you add 150 decisions just like that one, it can add up quickly. So by bringing everyone together and saying, hey, by spending $20 extra on a lighting fixture, it's going to increase your buyer pool, but also increase your net, what you're going to take home at the end of this build job. And those are the things that honestly flabbergast me when I walk through a house and I'm like, why are we still doing this? Why are you still giving me one single ugly, no offense, days in, but days in light in the center of the room? Give me 4 cans and a fan. Home Depot and Lowe's have great options. Take one step to the left and choose that box, please.
I love it. Well, let's go there then. Let's dive into what are some of the red flags. You've been in the business for over a decade. You've walked a lot of houses. You've probably walked a lot of custom builds and things like that. What have been some red flags that say, hey, look, I'm not going to refer to this builder if somebody comes to me and says, hey, which builder should I work with locally? And again, don't call out specific ones if you don't want to, but just talking features wise, what are we looking at with floor plans? What are we looking at with finishes that is like absolute red flag? I'm never going to refer to this person.
So excellent question. There's different tiers to this. So on the approach of like 50,000 square foot view of builders, if I'm an agent and I'm coming in and you're not going to provide a refrigerator, typical new builds don't do washer and dryers, but blinds, all of the things that first-time home buyers or people that are cash poor but credit rich need, I can immediately knock off 6 builders within my 100-mile radius of where I work, because I know they won't offer that. That's wonderful, but you're asking for top dollar and you're comparing your home to resales or other subdivisions. So if we are buying or purchasing a home for the same price, but my client has to do washer and dryers, refrigerators, blinds, all those types of things, you can add another $10,000 to $15,000 outside the cost of the transaction, which puts them underwater. You don't hire me to put you underwater. So I will immediately steer you away from those. The other thing that I would say is whoever you hire, vet them. Please don't use your great cousin that lives down the street that's related to Mary, who just got her real estate license or has had their real estate license for 5 years, but has done one deal. What that translates onto my side is ignorance of what the transaction actually takes, more work on my end, and typically things that are missed in the contract that the contractor is not aware of that they need, but is going to cause the contractor or the seller a lot more grief through the sale process than you were potentially prepared for. So pairing up with a real estate advisor that knows everything from, to use your language, soup to nuts, you're going to have a much easier transaction and you're not going to be bogged down by paperwork. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is, as everyone is aware, real estate agents get paid by a commission. I only get paid if the house closes. So have all your disclosures ready. Make sure your agent has all of that done. Also, if you are going to offer 1% and my fee is 3%, my clients have to make up that 2% outside of the transaction. Their offer for your home is going to be the same. It's just going to be more difficult to move forward. So all of those are building blocks. The next building block I would say is when you go into a home, those finishes. So the first things I look at to know what kind of caliber build we have is, does your backsplash in the shower go all the way to the ceiling? Or is it just where the rod cuts across, right? What is the countertop in the kitchen depth? Is it 1 inch? Is it 2? Is it 3? What does that look like? I look at the electrical plans. If it's not built yet, obviously the architectural plans, or if I go in, if you just have one single light, I know what kind of builder we're immediately dealing with. So those are the top 3 things I look at when I come in. And also, if you have kind of a dated light fixture, why? Spend the extra, $50 to upgrade that? You're just cutting off your nose and spite your face.
Yeah. And so we just went through our home buying process, and I bought my first house this last July. We've been in here almost a year. So it's been interesting to see, we got into a new construction build. And so it's been cool to see this process firsthand and to experience that. And you talk about some of those practicality things that when you walk the house for the first time as a buyer, you've got your blinders on a little bit. You're like, oh, you just see a big wide open kitchen and a big living area, and you're like, oh, this is perfect. You're not thinking about, okay, how many lights are above us right now? Because you go in the middle of the day. And then, but if you go in, and this didn't happen to us, our builder was great, but if you go in and then suddenly you're like, oh, there's 2 lights that cover this kitchen and this living area, it's too dark for us to utilize this space. Now we have to buy lamps, or we have to, have an electrician come in and put more lights or whatever. And, you're speaking to how are people going to live in this space ultimately, right? And kind of offering that opinion as somebody that's gone through that process a lot of times.
Absolutely. So can I ask you a couple of questions?
Please, yes.
Congratulations on your new house. That's a huge deal. That's so exciting. But you're right. When you walked in, you're just like, oh, my couch can go here and my friends can sit here. And if your significant other is anything like me, I'm like, okay, can I cook dinner and still see the TV so I'm not completely out of the activity that's happening? So you have been in almost a year.
Yeah.
Tell me about your warranty process with your builder.
So we've actually had to use it. So that's the thing that's been great is, he said for the first year, any issues, if they come up, just give us a call or a text and let us know. And, we had an issue with our garage where something happened with the sensor and we couldn't get it to close anytime there was light outside. Like if the sun was up, our garage door just would not close.
Oh,
so
I've never heard of that one.
It was weird. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, at a certain time of day, the angle's messing up the laser receiver or whatever. I could see that, but it was literally like, sun's up at 7:30 until about 7:30 at night. When the sun's fully down, we literally cannot open it, or else we have to push and hold the garage door button. So,
almost a free for all at your house then, as long as you have the cojones to rob you during the day.
I mean, hey, you know what? With all the crap we have in the garage, more power to them.
So with that, in the state of Utah, there's a builder's warranty. Not everything is guaranteed to or falls under that warranty in a year, but for just basic concept, let's say every builder has a year warranty after you close on the house. Typically doesn't include like concrete in the state of Utah just because of our temperature fluctuations. But why don't contractors allow third-party inspectors to come through the home? I have never understood that. So anytime my clients purchase a new construction, before we close, I'll have a third party, or before we close ideally, but some contractors will not let third party people on site prior to closing. And I know part of it's liability. The other part I don't understand. So I send in a third party inspector right around close or right after we close the next day to create basically, hey, this is your warranty items, your punch list items, send it in right away. Why wouldn't the contractor want them to provide or do that a week to 2 weeks before close? Isn't it much easier to schedule your subs and get them in when no one's inside of the house?
You would think so.
I don't get that. And also, I think contractors overlook a very massive thing. I don't know if this is allowed, but like, you love your builder. And let's just call him ABC Builder because we don't know who it is. If you have a friend that's saying, hey, I'm looking at a house with ABC Builder, aren't you going to be the first one? They build great houses. I love my house. But if they build you a box of matchsticks, you're going to be like, they're awful. Don't go. And I think builders overlook that. The people you are building for, you might not ever meet because of the way that this business is structured, but they are your biggest advocate. And I think contractors overlook that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the contractors, they're there you're not just there to build a house, you're there to build a home, right? Like, you are literally building, hopefully, some people treat it as an investment, and that's great too, but I would say more often than not, if you're in the custom space, you are building somebody's home. They're going to you for a custom home because they're going to stay in it for a while and things like that. So yeah, you want to get it right, you want to nail it. And then if you don't, like you said, it's so much easier to say, hey, before you move in, what are the changes or the fixes that need to happen before, you get in the house? And then it gets more complicated because you're like, oh, did this happen when they moved in? And that's when it happened? Or is this actually a me issue? It's so much easier to say, okay, yeah, these are on us versus, oh, this scuff happened because, you bumped something, you bumped your bed against the wall as you were moving it in, and now you expect me to fix it. I would think it would be way easier on the front end versus 6 months in or whatever.
But also, you're under a builder's warranty for a year. It's your problem for a year, whether they caused it or not, unless you can figure that out, right?
Yeah.
Other thing is I have builders that I absolutely love simply because 11 months after the transaction, they will come on and patch and paint any pops or settling issues that happen and do touch-up painting. It is a great sales pitch when I go and say, hey, this is how intentional the builder is. And this particular builder, I don't think I can shout out builders, but I do love me.
No, absolutely. Please shout out if you have good builders, because my goal is, hey, if somebody's watching, we want to give them people to emulate. Go check out this builder's website. Go check out their social media because you want to be like them. So please shout out your builder.
I love me some Carriel Homes. They are an excellent builder. They're the ones that offer that 11-month after. They also stand by their word. I am a Midwest gal. I'm from Kansas City. I may or may not have gotten into some trouble back in high school days. My dad was this big Lebanese West Point grad, and I still remember him. I don't think you can say this anymore in society, but he ripped me to the side and he looked at me and he goes, Micaela, you come in this world with one thing and you leave this world with one thing, and it's your name. And you're bleeping it up, knock it off. And I was like, got it. Sorry, Dad. But that's how I live after that, I straightened out a little bit, but I live my life and run my business like that. All any contractor has is their name. So one thing that I love about Carriel Homes is if they tell you something, they sure as heck will finish it. I've had the owner of Carriel Homes on a phone call with my client being like, We overlook that. That's our bad. We'll take care of it. How often do you see that in this day and age? So I've had multiple times that clients are looking at his home and somebody else's home, and I'm the tiebreaker. They're like, well, I'm kind of 50-50. I could love either. Both are the same price. If you were purchasing, Micaela, what would you purchase? And I was like, Regal Home all day. Or PH Omni, Pure Haven Homes. They're a beautiful custom builder in town. I had a client ask, hey, who would you have build a custom home in an area called Red Ledges in town? And I was like, hey, go by Timp Grove is a neighborhood that they built. Go see their work. That's where I would move you, or you can have them build. They met them last week to build their house in Red Ledges. Did I get any money for that? No. But did I kind of look good because I recommended an excellent builder that has in-house design team, on-site contractor who is more anal retentive than I am. Like, I love contracts and I love those things. This guy, you could eat off his construction floor. That brings me to another thing. Vacuum. Buy yourselves a vacuum. Why am I walking through 9 feet of dust? I get that it's a construction site, but like, for the love of Pete, people, I don't need to see what everyone had for lunch for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, especially, you know, like I said, we just moved in. They're finishing the last couple rows of houses now. And I'm in Cedar City, so I'm Southern Utah. If you've ever been here, like, Chicago's called the Windy City because they hadn't, like, they took that moniker before they got to Cedar City, I think.
I have been to Cedar City. I used to coach soccer, so we were down there all the time. You are correct. It is windy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised the ball didn't fly sideways some of your soccer games.
It probably did, or, you know, we just blamed it on the wind. So it worked out either way.
So you know, the only issue we've had with our build or whatever is the fact that, like you said, construction sites, it happens, but we've had construction stuff blow onto our property. And I think that that's really what separates a good builder from a great builder, is helping your subs to keep that site as clean as you can. You know, I get it. It's styrofoam, it's a bucket, it's going to blow away. It happens, whatever. But people live here. Like, this is now my house, and it feels like, oh man, I've just got crap blowing onto my driveway, or, you know, blowing onto my car or whatever, which it just is that minor inconvenience. And I get that. But like you said, I think it really does separate the good from the great if you can hold your subs or even your own people to that standard and say, look, like, this is important to us. Here's why. And it just creates that extra experience, because honestly, I wouldn't probably even think about it if it didn't happen, or like if it wasn't happening, I wouldn't think about it. Right. But when it does happen, it gives me that little extra slightly bad taste in my mouth.
Absolutely. But also, stuff happens. Like, it's life. So it's not so much that the bucket or the styrofoam flew onto but it's what's the response. Mm-hmm. So if it happens once, okay. If it's happening every single day, and let's say the contractor doesn't know that his subs are doing that, which is totally plausible, right? But the client calls and says, hey, I have cleaned up trash off my front yard for the last 3 weeks. Is there something you can do to fix this? And the contractor's response is screaming at the person and hanging up on them, or saying, oh yeah, I'll get to it, and hang up and not do anything. That's the response. And I find it interesting because COVID, everyone was ridiculously busy during COVID. People were turning down business left, right, and center. It is slower now. My phone is blowing up with people being like, hey, can I help with a remodel? Do your clients need any of this? I finish basements, all of that. If you do the right thing when you're busy, you are going to be the first people that are called when it's not busy. And I think a lot of people are so stuck with, well, it's happening right now, and this is all I care about. But what about all of this other opportunity that you're blind to?
Yeah. Well, and, you know, not to plug my own business as much, but that's kind of the power of marketing. You know, people, I'll reach out to them and they'll say, oh, I'm so busy, I can't do any marketing. And I kind of look at them confused, and I'm like, well, that's when you should start marketing. Because what's the other option? You do it when you don't have any leads and you're cash poor, and you're like, oh, I wish I started marketing already. No, you market when you're so busy, it feels like your head's about to twist off, because chances are pretty good you lose a little bit of money in marketing the first 1 to 3 months, and then it starts to hit the stride. And maybe you've slowed down, maybe you haven't, but you can start to hire, you can do those things that build your business, but only if you make the choice to consciously say, look, like, my quality is good, my values are in line, these are the things that are important to me, all that stuff that you were just talking about. And now I'm going to put a little bit of money into marketing and start this new system that feels scary and risky to grow my business.
But I'm also going to challenge that statement. What is the definition of marketing right now for a general contractor? What does that look and sound like? You tell me.
Yeah, I think it depends. For some of them, it looks like, hey, let's get videos made, let's run advertising, let's fix our website that we haven't looked at since Obama's first term, like whatever that looks like. But like there are a lot of things that you can do. Or like you said, let's build a relationship with a real estate agent. Let's build our network. Let's start to do these things that, make us a name that's known for quality and value and things like that.
Or just hear me out here, crazy idea. Give realistic timelines for when the house is going to be built. Don't tell me it's going to be June 1st when in your head you're like, hopefully August. Like, give me a buffer zone. Even if it's going to be July 1st, tell me end of August. Look like a hero. But a lot of you guys, no offense, look like a zero because you're like, I can get it done in 9 months. Who wants their house slapped up in 9 months? Nobody. But at the beginning, just say, hey, it's going to be a 12 to 14 month build job. Then they're like, okay, now I can plan. Where you guys get in trouble at the end of these transactions is when you tell them, like, I had a builder, will not mention her name, but I had a builder tell my clients it would take them 14 months to build the house. You know how long it took them?
How long?
3 years.
Wow.
So I am having, as being the real estate agent, trying desperately to lower the emotional affect. But when the emotional affect is higher, if they're waiting twice as long as what you quoted, you bet your blue tape walkthrough is going to be your worst nightmare. You bet that they're going to be your worst nightmare under your warranty, because they're going to be like, well, I waited so long, and you've soured the relationship. So the buyer is going to then kind of put it to you. Your marketing is when you say, hey, let's meet on site at 1 o'clock. Here's a concept. Show up at 12:55. Don't roll in at 1:15, throwing a burger in your backseat, being like, I'm here. That's your marketing. You are your walking, talking marketing. And I know contractors well enough that paperwork, thinking outside of what you're trying to accomplish is not your favorite thing. So call a spade and do what you do to the best of your abilities. And people will just naturally come back around to you.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where there's a difference between contractors that are building a business and contractors that are self-employed, right?
Tell me more about that delineation, because I'm self-employed.
Yeah. So self-employed means, hey, I am the person wearing all the hats. I run my own bookkeeping. I am submitting my own permits. I, coordinate with all my subs on most every job, or maybe I have a project manager that helps with that, things like that. But, a business owner builds systems that makes it so that chaos stops existing as much. And obviously that takes time and effort and all of this stuff. But eventually what you get is, like you said, hey, we have a great product. We can stand behind it we're going to call you in 11 months and we're going to make sure, because that's not probably the owner every time making a personalized call. That's probably an office assistant that even just reminds him, hey, you need to make these calls this week, or, hey, let's build this into your calendar. Or, they put in place a system that says, even if I'm the owner, it's important to me to do that personal outreach. That's fine. But what's my system look like? So it's not just a sticky note somewhere that gets thrown away before 11 months happens.
Absolutely. Your processes are key. But I would say in the construction world, it's probably not your processes. I love you out there. You are my people. I see you. But like, processes are not big on your end. You're like, go to get it done. Be free. That's not a process, right? So have people, have subcontractors, have real estate agents. Like if you hire me as your real estate agent, I probably will take off 80% to 90% of the paperwork that will come across your desk. It will just be done. It will have a nice little sticky note that says sign here, right?
Yeah.
So it's not so much that you have to have a process. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, hire someone for your weaknesses. And if you're like kind of an egomaniac sitting there thinking, I don't have any weaknesses, if you have to solve a problem more than once through any transaction or build job, put a process in place. I have a saying in my business that if something comes up more than once, doesn't matter how busy I am, how painful it is, I stop what I'm doing, and I will literally out loud say, this is for future Micaela, and I will figure out a fix for it right then. I do that for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want to have to solve the problem again. And 2, I find I am the most productive at finding a path through that problem in the middle of it. If I say, hey, I'll solve it when I have more problem, on the other end, it doesn't seem as big of a deal. But when you're in the thick of it, you're like red hot. I'm half Lebanese and half Irish. So red hot is kind of what I just run all the time. So I will literally stop and say, okay, what can I do to fix this? Who do I need to get involved? Who do I need to call? Who do I need to send an email? Any or all of that. And once you get that done, you'll never have to solve it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think that, again, we're talking, how do we grow and scale a business? How do you get out of that? I'm so chaotic and, inconsistent and things like that. And I love what you're saying. If it pops up more than once, like, I'm going to put some mental power now to fix it while I'm feeling that pain, because I don't want to feel the pain anymore.
Absolutely. And kind of a rhetorical question, but I know a lot of people are out there thinking, well, I have a lot of subs at my job sites and I can't be at that. Totally get it. That is an unrealistic expectation for you to know about all of the things. What's not an unrealistic expectation is draft a contract with your subcontractors, because you probably use them all the time, and say, if XYZ happens, I will charge you and your staff $100 every time I have to clean up your lunch, or $100. Make it enough that it hurts them, not enough that they won't come to work, right? There's a sweet spot to it. But that will clean up your job sites immediately. And there's 1,000 different ways that you can do that. And as you build your business, a lot of people make the mistake of climbing Everest or attempting to climb Everest in one step. So if you want to be the known builder in your area, you're trying to do all the things to get you from here to here, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just get to here and here and here. It takes a bazillion steps to get to the top of Everest. Everyone always wants to cut it. You can't. And if you try to cut it, it's just going to fall apart. It's going to be weak, whatever you put in.
Yeah. I always joke with my business partner, oh yeah, we're just in a 90-day sprint right now. And he goes, I feel like we've been in a 90-day sprint for 4 years. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the goal. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to set these, call it like a milepost, right? Like, all right, this is where we're at. This is where we're gonna get in the next 3 months. We're in a sprint to do, whether it's a revenue goal or whether it's we're gonna clean up this system, whether we're gonna work with a coach to get to this, whatever that is. All right, this is our 90-day sprint. This is the thing that both of our brain power as the owners, as the people that do this is what we're so focused on for the next 3 months. And then, all right, now it's a habit. Now it's a system. Now it's ingrained in who we are as Noisy Bird. All right, what's the next thing? What's the next, milepost that we're setting? And we're going to sprint to it as fast as we can.
Absolutely. And just solve one problem at a time and put those building blocks together. And before you know it, your phone's going to be blowing up during the high seasons as well as the low seasons. But don't send me a chat GPT text message. I won't respond to you. Like, call in message. Like, put some effort into it, people.
Yeah. Well, and I loved what you said. I want to re-emphasize it. I don't want to just blow past it. You talked about marketing. Marketing is not just your website. It's not just a video. It's the end result and how people feel along the way, right?
And to be even more granular with that, how I look at my marketing is, how are people talking about me when I'm not in the room? So when I leave a room, are they sitting there going, she has no idea what she's talking about? or literally counting down the minutes until they turn this podcast off. Hopefully not. But mostly when I leave a room, so everyone thinks I'm from New Jersey or New York. I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why, but no one thinks I'm from Kansas because they're like, she's aggressive. I had someone call me one day and be like, you're the bulldog I never knew I needed. And I was like, thank you. Right. So it's, what are they saying? Your name is the brand. So if you're going to slap something up and hope and pray it works, are you going to be proud of that? That's my measuring stick of, do I want my name tied to this? And if the answer is no, figure out why it's no and fix it. And as you go through this, there's a book that I read, I don't know, probably 7 years ago. It's called The 5-Hour Work Week or The 5-Hour Week. And it really changed, well, one, it allowed me to turn off the news. So I'm like the most ignorant person coming to news ever. The second thing it did is it really broke down the best way to create a to-do list. If you're like me, your desk is covered in Post-it notes. Whiteboards are all around my office with lists and lists of stuff to do. How I get through that list is if I say create a marketing campaign, for instance, since we're talking about marketing, is that the only thing on your to-do list? No. So under create a marketing campaign, I create 3 bullets underneath that. Something that can be completed in the next 24 to 48 hours, something that can be completed in 5 business days, and something that can be completed in 10 to 14 days. And once those 3 are done, I do the same exercise again. The problem is people are trying to take too big of steps. Create a marketing plan. Well, maybe you need to chat GPT. What is a marketing plan, right? That's something you can do in 24 hours. But don't say, come up with a 2-year marketing plan. What the heck does that mean? Get granular and define it. And once you have these micro steps, it feels so much better. And you'll be amazed how quickly you can blast through stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you're saying. I think what I'm taking from it as a business owner, and maybe this is where I'm at, is the importance of patience, right? Like Rome doesn't get built in a day. A good business doesn't get built in a day, just like a good house doesn't get built in, a month. It takes a long time to build something that's quality, to build something that's lasting, and to be willing to say, hey, I'm going to create a marketing plan, or I'm going to do this thing with my marketing, with my business, whatever that looks like. All right, what does that actually take? And then what steps can I take to get there? And like you said, sometimes it's, all right, I'm going to do something this week because I've committed to myself to do it. I'm already bought in. Let's do it. But, I don't know the first thing about graphic design. I need a yard sign made to do this. All right. I'm going to chat GPT a plan. That's this 48 hours. And then this week sometime, I'm going to meet with a graphic designer. And then by the end of this, I'm going to put a yard sign in all of my current builds or whatever that looks like.
Absolutely. But I would say those steps are even too big. Chat GPT it, yes. Spend an hour on the interweb looking at things that you like. Because the first thing that graphic designer is going to say is, well, what do you want? So you need to have an idea of, okay. And then I would probably say, what ways am I going to use this sign? Is it just why I'm on a new construction? So it needs to be weatherproof. If you are in Cedar City, probably needs to be windproof. Probably wouldn't be great to have a solid sign because it's just going to get blown away, right? Think about that. And then then your next 3 steps is contact a friend or people's businesses that you like and say, hey, who did your graphic design work? Leave 3 messages, make 2 appointments. That's when I'm talking about small steps. And it's really not patience, it's discipline. What everyone wants to be the Steph Curry of basketball, making it rain from like the half court line, right? No one can do that because he shoots, 10,000 shots a day for the last 10 years. No one's willing to do that small, like not fun stuff that nobody else wants to do, which is ironic because if you're disciplined, even just for 20 days, make a small goal. Say, hey, I'm going to do this for 20 days. You will outwork and outpace probably 90% of people in your field. And you're going to be able to compound that much quicker than you're aware of.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that again, sometimes we get so wrapped up in our business, we forget we're trying to be the best in our field, right? Like that's what it takes to stand out. We want to be the best. And so, all right, here's the plan to do it. So,
Absolutely. And with marketing, what I would say is, what is your response to the following question? What do you do? Or how is your business? Think about what that response is. Because if your response is good, busy, you haven't given me any way to respond to you. And you're like, great, I don't know what else to say. You don't give an opportunity to talk about yourselves. And trust me, I hate talking about myself. It is like my least favorite thing in the entire world. I will hype anybody else up, but I will be the last one to say and give you my resume. I'm on a podcast that I was asked on it, and I'm still self-conscious about being like, hey, I'm a top sales agent for Summit Sotheby's. I average between 20 and 30 transactions a year. I average between 26 and $30 million of GCI a year. All of those things. But you have to find a way to flow it into natural conversation. So for instance, if you were to ask me, what do I do? My response is, I'm in property acquisition. Do you know what that means?
I don't, but I'm probably going to ask you because now I'm like, oh, that feels a little different. What is that? What do you do then?
Because if you ask me and I say, oh, I'm a real estate agent, you know what everyone does? They go, and they try to find a way out of the conversation. They don't want to talk to me. Real estate agents have a connotation of used sales carsmen, right? They're going to be like, she's going to take my house and run with it. And it's like, no, I'm in property acquisition. I help people with their investments, with their next chapter of their lives. I help them map out retirement 5 years prior. There's so many different ways that you can take that. So I challenge everyone that's listening to this, come up with a better way of answering, what do you do and how is business?
Yeah, I love it. Well, Micaela, this has been really, really great. The last question I had for you, the last thing that I wanted to touch on real quick is that you've been in business in a lot of different ways for a while. And obviously you've read books, you've studied business a lot and thought a lot about it. What has been the best piece of business advice or that you've either read or heard in a podcast or that somebody gave you? And how did you implement it? What did it do when you implemented it? That kind of thing.
I would say a couple of things. So the first piece of advice I received from a dear friend of mine, who's a financial advisor in Utah. And I called him and said, hey, I got my license in Utah. I'm moving my business out to Utah. And he goes, great. MC, the people that you're going to be selling for have way more money than you do. Don't piss them off. Good advice. So I always try to do that, right? We always try to put things in writing. And then I think the other thing that I did that drastically changed my business was coming up with one thing to work on at a time. I think the biggest downfall of entrepreneurs is we all have to wear 19,000 hats. So choose one hat to work on for that year. So every year when I do business planning, I come up with, what do I want to work on? My negotiation skills, my contract skills, my marketing, my logo, whatever it is. And I only focus on that for a year. And I know a lot of people are like, well, how do you get everything else done? We're entrepreneurs. We're always doing other things. But there's one thing that I really focus on when I have downtime or if I'm on a walk, just do one thing at a time.
I love it. Do you know who Jesse Itzler is?
I don't think I'm familiar with.
So at the risk of being the person that identifies somebody by who they're married to, he's married to Sarah Blakely, who owned and sold Spanx.
Oh, okay.
And he's a serial entrepreneur and has sold multiple businesses and things like that. But what he does is he said, every year I give myself a word. And sometimes that word is gratitude or that word is whatever it is. But I build my whole year around that word. And he calls it the big ass calendar. And it's the size of a desk. And so you can literally see your entire year in one place. And he said that's important because so often we plan out our vacation in the margins of life, or, we plan out these things when we can fit it. And so he said, put your year, put your word, and then plan out your year with that word. And it kind of goes back to what you're saying, but make that thing the thing that you focus on. And then like everything else is going to be secondary around that thing. But what, like you said, if it's your marketing, if it's, hey, I'm going to hire somebody this year, whatever that thing is, everything else is going to surround that thing. And if you put your mind to it, you know what it feels like when you hit that thing, you're connected to it, those kinds of things. Absolutely. I think that's probably the best advice that I've heard on the podcast in a while. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. And if you're having difficulty figuring out what your one word is or the one thing is, sit in a chair for 3 minutes. Don't move and just ask yourself, when do I redline the most? What upsets me the most? Is it like this year? It was because I felt like I was getting fat. I was like, I don't have any room in my life just for me. So this year, my word actually, because I got one word a year, is move. Like, how can I ensure that I move every day? So that could be it. Or I really hate how my subs leave my job site, or I hate my office. Whatever it is, fix the things that bother you the most first, and it will free up so much of your bandwidth.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Micaela, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for your time, for imparting the things that you did, sharing your perspective as not only a real estate agent, but somebody that's been in the construction world, and sharing just your knowledge. I think it's been really, really insightful.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come on and chat with you. I really enjoyed the last hour.
Good. Well, where can people find you? Do you want them to, do you have a website? Do you have social media they can follow you at? What's the best way to connect?
I would love for you to follow me on social media. It's Micaela Carriel on Facebook and Instagram. You can go to the Summit Sotheby's International Realty website and find me there. And pretty much anywhere on the interweb, you can find my contact details. So reach out if there's anything I can ever do to assist you and your business.
I love it. Well, Micaela, thanks again so much. And thank you so much for watching. I hope that by the end of this, you felt like you're winging it a little bit less. This has been another episode of Wingin' It. We'll be here again next week with another business owner. And we'll see you till next time.